Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk about, of course, the Battlefield 1 beta. Things are starting to wrap up. DICE now has given us a end date for the beta. It's going to be September 8th, so you've got 3 more days to sit down and give the beta a go. What we're going to do today, I've talked a lot about the things that I really like about the beta. I like the way they've handled this, I like the way they handled it. There's a lot about Battlefield 1 that I really enjoy. It's just, from a core gunplay and gameplay perspective, there's a lot of good things going on. It feels like a great thing when everything's running and working properly. But there are 3 big things that stood out to me with my time in the open beta now that there's a much larger crowd, that the number of people on the servers has been vastly increased. That stand out is legitimately big concerns. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about those 3 big concerns. Now, I know there's a lot of other issues to talk about. We can talk about more of the micro balancing or the core balancing issues that are going on with the armor, like, tanks, heavy tanks, light tanks. Those things are all a mess. There's some weapon balancing issues, specifically some of the weapons that the medic class has, which are incredibly overpowered. But let's just say that I'm hopeful that DICE recognizes those issues, they see those issues, and they do what they need to do to refine them. Push out a set of balance changes in the day 1 patch and get things ready to go. Let's briefly actually talk about that. There's going to be a day 1 patch. It's almost guaranteed. And I know a lot of people look at day 1 patches as like, oh, the developers know what they're doing. But the reality is a day 1 patch is actually just the developer working as hard as they possibly can up to the very last moment to get the game in the best possible state for you and I. The certification process that a game has to go through when it launches on console, PS4 and Xbox One, is incredibly lengthy, arduous, and archaic. So a developer will push a game through that certification process. When it finally goes through, that means the game has gone gold. It doesn't actually mean the game is in a perfect working state. It means it just fits this set of parameters and criteria that have been issued to the developer for said certification process. It's a really wonky thing, and if you want to learn more about it, I'll actually have a really great read from Vlambeer Head, one of the members of the head of Vlambeer, Rami Ismail, down in the description below. Please give it a read if you're interested in knowing more about the inner workings of those certification processes, and you'll now understand why we have day 1 patches. So I think that kind of stuff, day 1 patch, they're probably already working on it right now, and hopefully we will just see a more balanced playing field when it comes to armor and weapons on Battlefield 1's release date. So let's start, though, with one of the 3 things I want to talk about today, which is connection issue. Now, my time with the alpha, and also even my time with the day 1 insider access, has shown me that BF1 has solid netcode and hit detection. Those things felt great in the alpha. They felt great in that day 1 insider. Pretty much all of the environments where I've had the opportunity to play BF1, where there hasn't been an insane number of players on the servers, the game has felt solid. We've got a great time to kill. It feels shorter than Battlefield 4's to me. I like that. It just, the game feels solid. It feels good when it's running on a clean connection. The issue is, pretty much everyone else, and even myself for the last week, pretty much since the beta went live for real, hasn't had the opportunity to experience that on a consistent level. The game has ran like crap connection-wise. There's been that, that warning light in the corner of your screen saying, bad connection. It's like your check engine light in your car when, you just need to tighten your gas cap. It's just there, and it won't go away. I played maybe 1 or 2 matches every night that had a solid connection, and you immediately know, because you no longer have ghost bullets and ghost damage. You start using half as many bullets to kill a guy, and the game starts to feel really great. And if you're pretty solid at FPSs, you're all of a sudden, you're like, man, no, I'm getting all these kills because I didn't have to use an entire clip from my Lewis gun to kill 1 guy. There's some connection problems. I don't know what they need to do to resolve them. I don't know how the DDoSing that happened on day 1 could have anything to do with it. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. The servers should not be affected long-term by a DDoS attack. Nonetheless, it's out of our control as players. All we can do is not pre-order the game, see how things go day 1, and hope that DICE has managed to get it all together. Whether that means adding more Azure servers to the Xbox One, or beefing up the server stuff on an Origin, those are the 2 platforms I've played on, they need to straighten it out. We cannot have another year-long just nightmare of them trying to build consistent connection like we did with Battlefield 4. I'm ready for the game to be a disaster day 1. When you have this popular of a release, the odds of the game running smoothly out of the gate are incredibly slim. Just talk to any developer. That's just how it goes. It has nothing to do with the quality of the game or the quality of the connection. Day 1 launches are just a mess for multiplayer experiences. The real test is day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that first week. And then the second week, can they build stability? Because that's what's going to make me want to play this game or not long term. I'm ready to play BF1 if the consistency is there. If I have to deal with constant broken connection issues where the time to kill feels twice as long and I can't actually enjoy the experience, that's when I'm going to get frustrated. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, that's something that we really can't answer or even speculate on until the game goes live and we just see how it works out in the wild. Hopefully, this beta, even though the game releases in less than 2 months, was a good test for them to really rack their servers and see what they need to do to make the game more prepared for launch day. Number 2 on the list, behemoths. Behemoths. Let's briefly talk about the behemoth that was available in the alpha on the St. Quentin Scar map. It was the airship Zeppelin. It was able to be flown all across the map. It was not on rails. It could be piloted by a player, and it could be taken to any one of the objective points and rain down support fire from above. You still needed a team or a group of squads cooperating on the ground to actually go out and capture said objective, and let's be honest, in a more public environment, that's already kind of a sketchy thing. But one of you guys made a good point, actually, in a video I talked about with the players of the problem, and I really applaud this because I forget about it, because it's been so long since I played Battlefield seriously, and that's the server browser. The best thing you can do day 1 with BF1, or whenever you decide to play the game, is to find a server that has good admins enforcing the rules, and that is fitting your playstyle, favorite that server, and play on it. And that, of course, helps alleviate the pains of players not making proper use of certain pieces of equipment, like the behemoth on Quentin Scar. Now, there's a different issue going on with the behemoth on Sinai, which is the war train. The war train runs down, not really the center, but a portion of the map straight across from it. This gives it, and we're being generous when I say these points, this gives it access to at least provide firepower for A, firepower for B. It allows it to provide firepower for G and also help capture G, and firepower for D and also help capture D. So 2 points it can capture and support, and essentially 2 points it can support. There is still E, F, and C, which are basically hidden from the war train's weapon capabilities. You can't even support it with fire. So, in a sense, you could cover enough points to turn the tide of battle. But, in my time with the beta, which has been a great many hours at this point, I have not seen the war train turn the tide of battle for the losing team once. Not once. It is simply not that effective. And the more and more I look at something like the war train, the more and more concerned I get about behemoths as a whole. They start to feel like something that was just thrown in to sort of make the losing team feel a bit better about their situation. I don't think it's anything that could actually bring the team back. There's so much coordination that needs to happen too. You need to have the team in the war train, giving the proper firepower on the right points, and then you need to have squads that are communicating with the people in the war train to actually go out and capture said points. And all of this is happening right at the end of the match. We're talking usually very, very few minutes left in the match for this team to try and make a significant push. And sometimes, the team is just down 50, 70 points. There's no way they're coming back from that. You really start to question their existence. They feel like they're all just for show. They're a one-trick pony. They show up, they look cool, but they don't actually help the losing team. So I think people are going to feel one way or the other about that, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. Are you okay with that? Do you not care? Do you think it's a cool little end piece, at least, for the losing team? Or do you really genuinely want these behemoths to only exist if they provide some sort of a benefit to the team? Now, I know if they were overpowered, people would argue that's not fair, the losing team being able to come back, which again, makes me question their existence. I think that there are more questions than answers when it comes to the way the behemoths are being handled, specifically when we talk about the war train. So I just have a ton of issues with it. I'm interested to see what else they do in terms of behemoths and what other maps feature behemoths, how those behemoths are handled, and I will definitely be doing a discussion on that after the game's launch day. But let me know your thoughts. How did you feel, at least, about the war train on Sinai? You love it? You hate it? Is it pointless? Do you like having it around just for show? Really, let me know down in the comment section below, guys. Now let's talk about number 3 on my list, which is the hero classes. Now the hero classes are obviously and blatantly just taken from Battlefront. Somebody thought it was a cool idea. Why not put them in Battlefield 1, even though they do not fit the Battlefield experience at all? But there's a bigger issue I have at hand. when you're crafting a multiplayer experience, that is in some ways competitive, whether it's, highly competitive or even people playing it at a casual level, it's competitive, it's PvP. You have two teams of players going at it head to head, trying to claim victory. You're supposed to implement things into the game that are considered fair. So things that both sides have access to, or at least can fight to have access to. The hero classes are essentially power weapons. You pick up a weapon, there are 3 of them available on the Sinai map in 3 different locations. They give you a piece of armor, and they give you a weapon. So you have a flamethrower with a gas mask and a slight layer of armor. You have a water-cooled machine gun with heavy armor that cannot be ADS'd, by the way, it just hip fires. And then you have a anti-material rifle that has to be fired from prone, but that can do serious damage, it can body shot people, and it can really actually tear up armor. In themselves, the idea of power weapons, I like that, right? And when you look at a game like Halo, which I know is on a smaller scale, but nonetheless, or even Gears of War, power weapons are a big part of their experience. They're the driving force. They force players to certain parts of the map. They make them engage in firefights. And all in all, they are a huge element of, sort of how the team's going to win. If you claim a power weapon in a game like Halo, you have a good sniper and you get the sniper. You get the rocket launcher. Those are key tactical advantages that your team has now fought for, captured, and is going to be able to use against the enemy team. The thing is, all of those weapons, as I just said, exist in a fair setting. There's either one on the map that is directly in the center so the teams can rush for it, or there's 2 on the map, meaning that each team gets one to do battle with each other against. That's not the case with Conquest on Sinai Desert. The flamethrower is closest to one team spawn, the water-cooled machine gun is closest to the other team spawn, the only one that is even somewhat in the middle is the sniper rifle, which is available at E. So that means, depending on where your team spawns, they're guaranteed to get one of 2, and then possibly fight over the third. That's not a good system. Nothing about that is balanced, or competitive, or fair. It doesn't make sense. The other thing is, these power weapons, these hero classes, are sort of like this hidden mystical thing. They're never, again, delivered to the player directly. As you boot up the beta, nobody really informs you of them. You kind of stumble your way into them. Oh, where'd that guy get a flamethrower? There's no flamethrower in my loadout. And then people see them. DICE in this instance is acting like everyone is this crazy Battlefield pro who knows every little detail about the game. But there's going to be a huge number of people, even day one with the launch of this game, who are not going to know about those things. And that, again, is not part of what makes a good multiplayer experience. You don't hide things from your players in a competitive environment like that. It's absolutely silly. So I really don't understand the hero classes. Are they cool? Sure. There's nothing better than going on a 15 killing spree with a flamethrower in the city because your team happened to spawn on the side that has the flamethrower, and vice versa when we talk about the water-cooled machine gun. They are not balanced, they are not fair though, and they are just little tiny nuisances for the other team. To have to finally, we gotta hunt down that guy with the LMG because he's holding down C by himself with a medic. I just don't get them, they don't seem worth the trouble for the wow factor. Much like the Behemoth, they feel like 2 things that have been added to the game for the sake of the wow factor. That's my personal opinion. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all the things that we discussed today. We're gonna move forward. I've got a couple more videos for BF1 coming out, talking about some of the other aspects of the game that I really enjoy, a few more discussion topics before we kind of let things rest as we push towards the game's full launch in October. Thank you guys so much for watching. There's a lot of you come here to watch the Battlefield content. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing your opinions and thoughts on the beta. So glad to have you here. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.